Hi, everyone. I have an interesting and a little unusual Bible lesson for you today. It's a math lesson. We're combining geography, social studies, and what we've learned about Joshua and the 12 tribes of Israel. So I'm going to actually share with you right now a screen of Google Slides that you should be able to see. And I want you to, excuse me, use these to learn a little bit about how Joshua divided up the land of Canaan. When the Israelites finally crossed the Jordan River and God allowed them into Canaan, Joshua had to take the time to divide up the land. And so we're going to use maps to kind of give you an idea of what Israel looks like then, as well as what Israel looks like now. And one of the tools that I used for this is the National Geographic Interactive Map Maker. It's really a very cool tool. And if you like maps and social studies and just knowing where places are in the world and what they actually look like, thanks to satellite technology, I think this would be a really interesting tool for you. So let's get started on Joshua dividing the Promised Land. If you remember, Joshua and Caleb are the only two remaining Israelites that left Egypt with Moses. All of the rest of the Israelites died in the wilderness. And now they're leading the new generations into the Promised Land. Joshua took the place of Moses when Moses passed away. And so it's his job to organize the land into the tribes. And in your mind, you might want to be thinking about who those tribes were. What are the names of Jacob's children, his boys, that you remember, like Reuben and Gad and Asher? There's several more, so be thinking about those. This is a political map of the current day world. A political map shows political boundaries, which means it shows where countries or states border each other. The lines on this map are not literal lines on the earth, but we know they are marked by people who map out political borders. Look for places you have been or have studied. You might even find a new place. This is a satellite image of the world from space. The first map that we looked at is actually a drawing. Maybe computers drew it, but it's still considered a drawing. This is an actual photograph from space. I think it's so incredible to see the world as it actually is from space. No one made this map, but map makers have made maps like the political map we looked at. They've made those for centuries. They are smart people to travel and draw and write things in it that are correct, but look at this image. It's a picture of God's creation. It's the exact same place as the political map is showing. If you notice, there are only natural geographic features, not lines and words. We add those in ourselves. Okay, so what do we have here? We have the first two maps combined now, the political map with the satellite image. The satellite image shows us the land as it is, and then of course we added in the borders of the countries. That's the political feature. Now, why am I taking Bible class time to teach you map skills? Well, since we're about to learn who the land was divided, or who the land was given to, and who divided it up into different groups by the 12 tribes of Israel, you need to know that Joshua would have done the same thing as we try to do with maps. He used geographical features, and that means he used land and water features to separate the many, many people and their livestock. They needed so much room to live depending on how large their tribe was. That is what we're going to learn today. Okay, here we have the same image as before, but I zoomed in to show you three places you are already familiar with. If you can't pick them out on a map, you will know their names. Number one is Egypt. That's right. What do you know about Egypt? I know you remember a lot of things, and that's where the Israelites were slaves before they were led out by Moses. Number 2 is the Red Sea. Don't you remember the wonderful, miraculous, awesome power of God when he divided the Red Sea to allow the Israelites to escape the Egyptians? They wouldn't have escaped unless God showed his power. My favorite part of that story is that the land under the sea was dry when he raised it up. Dry. There was no mud. No mud, y'all. Number 3 is the promised land of Canaan. That's where Abraham originally lived, and now his children and his descendants are headed back there. Today, and in Bible times afterward, it's known as Israel. Try to remember all the wonderful things we know God did in these 3 places. What wonderful stories. Now, some things might start to show, make a little more sense to you here once we have zoomed in even further. See the numbers? Those are the same places we just talked about. Egypt, the Red Sea, the Promised Land. Now see the blue lines? Inside those blue lines is Israel. It became Israel in those days, and it is still Israel today. All of that space between the Mediterranean Sea, which is the largest body of water on this map, and the blue lines was divided up by Joshua to the 12 tribes. Let's take a minute to remember who those tribes were named after. Remember, they were named after Jacob's sons. Naphtali, Asher, Zebulun, Issachar, Benjamin, Ephraim, Dan, Judah, Simeon, Reuben, Gad, and the half tribe of Manasseh. Now, Manasseh was actually split up into 2 groups, Manasseh East and Manasseh West. And I don't know if you remember this, but Manasseh and Ephraim were actually Joseph's sons. Joseph did not inherit his own area by his name, but his 2 sons inherited under him. And if you remember, this is the same Joseph who served Pharaoh during a time of famine after his brothers sold him to Egyptians. When the Israelites left Exodus, they took his bones with them to Canaan, and they buried him there once they were there. And that seems a little strange to us, but to them, it was a matter of Joseph going back home and the whole family of Israel being together. The Levites, you might remember Levi was one of Jacob's sons. They did not inherit land in the same way the others did. They did have places to live and places for their livestock, but their inheritance was the priesthood. They were supposed to be taken care of by God, and their inheritance was literally God, and the Bible tells us about that. And I think that is so awesome to know that you inherit God. What else do you need? Oh, what did I do? Well, I went from the satellite image back to the man-made political map. But if you also notice, the numbers and blue lines are there, and they stayed the same. It's exactly the same place, but I wanted you to see it from the other map. This gives you another look at the countries near Israel. What do you notice? There probably are places you've heard of before. Here, we're in the same place, but I zoomed in. I left the numbers and the blue lines out this time because now you can see Israel pretty big and in your face there. You can see even more detail here. You can see mountain ranges in gray, cities and regions. I did not add the blue lines like I said, but you can find the word Israel. Look closely. Now you can see where Israel and the city of Jerusalem are. I circled them in blue. What have you learned about Jerusalem? Oh, if we were together, we could talk about so many things that happened there. King David and Jesus and so many other stories. I'm not smart enough to tell you if any of these words that you see are quite the same as the places in the Bible. I know some of them are the same. Some of them have changed their names over the years. And I don't really recognize some of the names, but this is the same place where the Israelites settled. There are some names I do recognize from the Bible: Gaza, Jordan, Syria, and Lebanon, and there's other ones, but these are 4 that I feel like you would probably know as well. What looks familiar to you? Now, the next map is going to show you how Joshua divided Israel. Remember, it's the same place, but the political borders, which means the borders of the countries, will be different. This is the original separation of the land of Israel by the tribes. This is how Joshua would have separated the people into their various areas according to the book of Joshua. So see if you can find all of the places, and then we're going to switch back over to a current day map in just a minute. Okay, this is the last slide. We're almost done. This is Israel's area today. See how this compares to the map you just saw. If you have a printer, it might even help for you to print them out and look at them side by side. Or if you're able to look at them side by side on your computer screen, that would also be something that would be a good thing. And like I said earlier, to me, using these interactive maps from National Geographic are really, really cool tools for studying. And you can use them to study various things. And so I've left the link here for you that I think you would enjoy going to. You can play around, you can zoom in and zoom out, and you can mark places, and you can actually save the maps that you make when you make corrections like I did here. You can save them and have a copy for yourself. Well, I'm glad to spend a little time with you teaching you some math skills and some social studies skills, but most importantly, to help you understand where in the world a lot of these things have taken place that we've studied. I hope that it makes it a little bit more real for you, and I hope that you understand that all of these things that we've studied are real, that they happened in real places only through the power of God. I hope you're doing well, and we'll see you soon.